You felt it, didn't you? That shift in the air, the way he looked at you like you were the only thing in the room. Then days later, his silence screamed louder than his words ever did. You replayed the moments in your head, how he pulled you closer under the covers, how his eyes softened mid-laugh, how it felt like something real. And then suddenly, nothing. His text responses thinned. His gaze seemed distant. You told yourself not to panic. But inside, it felt like heartbreak knocking before love even had a chance to breathe. You wondered, did I imagine it all? Let me tell you something you've likely never heard before. When a man falls deeply in love, he doesn't always lean in. Sometimes he pulls back, not because he's lost interest, but because something in him just got very, very real. And real love? It terrifies him more than losing you. Because when it's real, it isn't casual, it isn't safe. It threatens everything he's been taught to hide. So if he's gone quiet after opening his heart, stay with me. What follows will change the way you see men and love forever. Sign number 1, he disappears to feel. When a man falls in love, not flirtation, not chemistry, but that deep, tectonic love, his nervous system goes into overdrive. He won't say it out loud, but his body feels it like a collision. Heart pounding faster, appetite fading, thoughts spiraling. It's not cold feet, it's emotional overload. So he does what men are trained to do when they feel something too big. He disappears to process it alone. Not because he's rejecting you, but because this kind of connection threatens the most fragile part of his identity: control. He may go for long drives at night without telling you. He might dive into work, silence his phone, cancel plans, and while you're left staring at the ceiling wondering what went wrong, he's in a storm of his own. Psychologically, this is called limbic flooding, when the emotional center of the brain is hijacked by intensity. And in men, especially those raised to suppress emotion, it often results in withdrawal. You may think he's ghosting, but what he's really doing? He's grieving the parts of himself he can no longer keep. Because your love didn't just move his heart, it shattered the armor around it. And now, in the silence, he's trying to rebuild, but this time with you in mind. Sign number 2, he mirrors your growth. Watch his habits, not his compliments. A man in love doesn't always say, "I admire you," but he becomes what he admires, quietly, almost invisibly. Suddenly, he starts making his bed in the morning because he noticed how you care for your space. He eats better because he saw you order salmon instead of fries without preaching. He reads that book you mentioned once, months ago, just to see the world the way you do. He doesn't call it love. He doesn't even realize he's doing it. But he's syncing with you at a behavioral level. This is attachment mirroring, a phenomenon in psychology where we unconsciously adopt traits of the person we feel emotionally bonded to. And in men, who often express love through action over language, it's one of the clearest signs of deep connection. He doesn't want to change for you. He changes because something about who you are feels like home, like alignment, like truth. You won't see this in grand gestures. You'll see it when he starts waking up earlier, when he cuts ties with toxic friends, when he stands a little taller because your presence called something higher out of him. He may never say, "You inspire me," but every step he takes toward his better self, it's a love letter in motion. Sign number 3, he silently guards your name. It's subtle, you'll never hear about it. But one of the first things a man does when he's truly fallen, he starts protecting your reputation like it's part of his own. He'll correct someone who mispronounces your name in passing. He'll shut down a crude joke about you in the group chat without making a scene. He'll even defend a dream you once whispered to him in rooms you're not in because it lives inside him now. You'll rarely know it happened. But in his mind, loving you means preserving how the world sees you. Men are conditioned to protect physically, but emotional protection? That's the evolution of real masculinity. Why? Because for the emotionally intelligent man, your dignity is an extension of his devotion. This is rooted in male loyalty wiring, an evolutionary trait tied to in-group protection. When he truly bonds, he sees you as his, not to control, but to defend. So the next time you wonder how he feels, notice this. When someone talks over you, does he gently bring the attention back to your voice? When someone minimizes your work, does he remind them, without raising his volume, exactly who they're talking about? If he shields your name like it's sacred, you're not just loved, you're honored. Sign number 4. He goes quiet when you're in pain, you're crying on the phone, or sitting in his passenger seat staring out the window, unraveling. You expect him to comfort you, say something, anything, but he goes quiet, not cold, not absent, just wordless. And you wonder, why does he shut down when I need him most? Here's the truth no one tells you. When a man deeply loves a woman, her pain becomes his failure. Not logically, not rationally, but viscerally. It activates an ancient part of his nervous system, the one built for hunting, solving, fixing. And when your sadness presents a wound he can't heal instantly, he doesn't see it as your emotion, he sees it as his inadequacy. This is what psychologists call masculine shame activation, the belief that if he can't eliminate your suffering, he's failed as a man, so he goes quiet. Not because he doesn't care, because he cares so much it paralyzes him. You may think he's distant, but look closer. Is his jaw clenched like he's swallowing every word he wants to get right? Is his hand on yours steady and warm, even as his mouth stays closed? That silence? It's him standing inside your storm, unarmed and unsure, wishing more than anything that love could be a sword. Sign number 5. He tests the waters of trust. He tells you a story about his father, one he's never said aloud. Or he casually mentions a fear, then laughs it off before you can react. Or maybe just once, he asks, "Would you ever date someone with anxiety?" These aren't random moments, they're emotional test balloons. When a man's in love, he doesn't fling his whole heart forward. He peels it open an inch at a time, watching to see if you flinch. Because to love you fully, he needs to know, can you hold the weight of me? This behavior traces back to attachment theory, particularly in men with avoidant or anxious avoidant styles. He's not just telling you something vulnerable, he's watching how your nervous system responds. Do your eyes soften or scan for the nearest exit? Do you hold space or shift the subject? These tiny disclosures aren't small, they're sacred. They are emotional reconnaissance missions. So if he brings up a dream he once let die, if he mentions a failure that still lives in his gut, don't rush in with advice. Don't fix, just witness. Because when a man's heart is in the room, he's not looking for a reaction. He's looking for safety. And if he finds it in you, that door never closes the same way again. Sign number 6. He studies you when you're not performing. It's not when you're laughing at dinner or dressed to impress that he really watches you. It's when you're tying your hair up in the mirror. When you're stirring coffee absent-mindedly with sleep still in your eyes. When you're scrolling through your phone, lost in thought, unaware of the world and of him. That's when his gaze lingers. Still, quiet, full. Because when a man has fallen, not just into romance but into reverence, he starts memorizing the parts of you that no one else applauds. Your micro moments become his sacred cinema. He won't always comment, but he'll notice the way your lips tighten when you're trying not to cry. The way your voice dips an octave when you're hiding anger. The exact rhythm of your sighs when you're tired but pretending not to be. Why? Because real love isn't drawn to the performance, it's drawn to the pauses, the in-between, the unfiltered. Psychologically, this is his limbic attunement kicking in, where the emotional brain syncs with your presence, reading and remembering not for advantage but for intimacy. He's not gathering intel. He's learning your soul's language so he can love you in the dialect of your silence. Sign number 7. He alters his routine without even realizing. Before you, his days were autopilot, predictable, controlled. He had his gym schedule, his friend group, his Friday night whiskey, his personal algorithm. Then you walked in, and something shifted beneath the surface. Not with demands, not with pressure, but with presence. Suddenly, he's waking up earlier. His phone spends more time face down. His playlists start sounding a little like yours. He skips poker night because your smile at dinner means more than any card in his hand. He never said, "I'm changing for you." But love has a gravitational pull. And when it's deep, it doesn't shove, it rearranges. This isn't about control. This is about emotional influence, a concept in relationship psychology that describes how partners naturally shape each other's behaviors when deep attachment is present. The key? It's unconscious. He's not bending himself to keep you. He's becoming more himself because of you. You may think he's just adjusting. But no, this is seismic. This is identity realignment. And the most beautiful part? He doesn't even realize how much he's orbiting you now. how his days feel off when they don't start with your voice, how his future feels like fiction if your name's not in it. Because when a man falls deeply in love, you don't just touch his schedule, you rewrite his sense of time. When a man falls deeply in love, soul-level love, something irreversible happens inside him. It doesn't look like fireworks. It looks like a quiet earthquake beneath everything he thought made him a man. He doesn't just crave your touch. He starts questioning who he is without you. He becomes more reflective, not because he's overthinking, but because for the first time his future isn't just about success. It's about meaning. You'll notice him sit longer in silence. He'll stare out windows more. He'll ask you questions like, do you think people can really change? Not to impress you, but because your presence has cracked something open. This isn't infatuation. This is identity fusion, a deep psychological process where love doesn't just live in his heart, it rebuilds his self-concept. He starts chasing goals again, but with different fuel. Not ego, not status, legacy, alignment, worthiness. He'll revisit his childhood dreams. He'll wonder if he's a good man, truly good, not just liked. He'll ask himself if he's someone who could father well, love honestly, live without regret. You didn't ask for any of this. But he's becoming it anyway, because your love became a mirror. And in it, he doesn't just see who he is, he sees who he could be. That's why men get anxious when they're in love. Because real love doesn't let them hide. It amplifies their greatness, but also their shame, the places they've lied to themselves, the wounds they've ignored. So if he retreats, don't assume he's leaving. He might just be standing in front of the version of himself he thought he'd never have to face. And now, he wants to be better. Not because you need him to be, but because your love whispered, there's more in you. And that whisper was louder than anything he's ever heard. So if he's showing up inconsistently, sitting in discomfort, fumbling with growth, look closely. That's not a man losing interest. That's a man rebuilding his foundation with his bare hands. Not for applause, not for validation, but because loving you made him believe he could stand taller. So if he's loving you quietly, if he's changed without saying it, if he's pulled away, not to escape, but to breathe through the weight of it all, don't misread the silence. Because when a man truly falls in love, his soul doesn't shout. It shifts. And you won't always see it in grand gestures. You'll see it in nervous pauses, in altered habits, in the way he says we without realizing it, in the way he touches your back when you cross the street, in the way he stares at you, not to undress you, but to understand you. Real love from a man is rarely loud, but it is steady, sacred, unmistakable, if you know where to look. So if you've been wondering whether he feels what you feel, watch for the identity shifts, the emotional edits, the reverence in his eyes when you're not even trying to impress him. Because if he's building a better man quietly beside you, he already loves you more than he knows how to say. Now tell me below, what moment made you realize he might love you more than he admits? And if this message stirred something in you, share this with a woman who needs to hear it. Because real love may be rare, but when you recognize it, it changes everything.